Hello, everyone. Welcome to Crone Chat. This is a new podcast, so we're going to be testing out. Um, this episode is going to be taking you through a little bit of an introduction so that you know exactly what to expect, who this is for. If you should stick around and listen to some of our guest speakers or listen to what I have to say a little bit, or if you want to move on your way. So first off, I'm Rachel Erazo. I'm headmistress of the Crone Academy. You can check out croneacademy.com. Go take a look at the stuff. This podcast will probably be on there. And basically what I do is I like to work with intuitives who want to start businesses. And even just more than that, if you are into divination, if you are a Reiki healer, a metaphysical biz babe or dude, I talk to my dudes too. If you are into the magical kind of craft and you're starting your journey from having no clue where you're starting at all the way up until you are making multiple figures and an intuitive psychic business every month, whether you're a healer, a teacher, a maker, or a reader, you can't forget our readers, then this is where you want to be, because that's who I love helping, from Maiden to Crone. And I want to talk to you about a couple of different concepts first, so that you understand as you go through this podcast and you hear all the people that I talk to, and all the different topics that we'll talk about. That way you completely understand what's going on, right? So, first off, who am I talking to? Sometimes you'll hear me use the terms Maiden, Mother, Crone. Who am I talking to? And I believe that every person that I help falls into one of these three categories. And I'll even put this in terms for dudes too, because we got to have that feminine, masculine balance, right? We got to be able to talk to both sides of the spectrum, right? We're not going to leave anyone out. So, our maidens, or our gentlemen, I'll call for the men's, are people who are brand new to their divination journey, to being a psychic, to being a witch, to being a healer. These are people that have no clue what the fuck they're doing. Okay? No clue in the slightest. And they're brand new. Maybe you don't have a spiritual base yet. Maybe just you've had some experiences your entire life, or you've just started having experiences of working with spirits or getting information from other places, or maybe you got into the law of attraction and you're wondering what in the world is that. Or you've heard of these things called tarot cards that the old the old Romani, we'll call it that, old Romani lady in the horror movies with the long air fingers. It's like, you are going to die. And you're like, I wonder what that card means. It looks kind of pretty. What's that? That's who I'm talking to when I talk about my mothers. No, my maidens. I'm sorry. My maidens are very new at this, just like a maiden. You are crafting your own path. You are figuring out where to go, and you are learning everything for the first time. And the best way that I like to talk to my maidens is, you're never going to hear me say that I want you to memorize anything. I want you, when I talk about intuitive divination, which is originally what my Crone Academy started out as, is nothing but intuitive divination. And when I say divination, I mean tarot cards. I mean anything that has to do with receiving information from without your original five senses, and bringing it into understanding. And this can be for future telling, or this can be for learning more about your inner self. That's what I mean when I say divination. So that's originally what the Crone Academy was about. And then I realized that it needed to be expanded, because some of my maidens were growing up into being mothers, or fathers, if we want to do the masculine term. And none of this, by the way, is age related. I have maidens who are in their 70s that are in my program. That's okay. I'm not going to judge you for age. Okay, your journey can start at any time, just like a crone can pop right back down to a maiden at any time. It's just a matter of where you're at. So I noticed my maidens grew up into mothers. So my mothers, or my fathers, to put the masculine context on it, these are those people who have become, I'd say, 80% confident in their abilities. There's still a little bit of confidence issues there, that realize that they have this call to heal the world. They have this call to heal other people, and that they're really fucking good at it, right? They're really good at really tapping into other things, to guiding people in the right direction. This is where they discover whether or not they're a healer, a teacher, a maker, or a reader, which we will probably talk about in another episode. This is where they start creating their first businesses and learning about it. They get into that mother mode, that creative mode, that empress mode that is always eternally pregnant in all of her cards, because she's gestating ideas. Things are happening without her consent. Because just like a mother, baby's gonna grow. Like, I can't change if the cells are going to reproduce. Like, that's just the way it is. We wouldn't be mothers or fathers if we could, reproduce asexually through mitosis. Just saying. But this is the creative spot. And this comes with its new challenges. You've come over the challenges of the maiden or the gentleman. You've started moving past that idea of being a newbie. You know what you're doing, but now you have a new set of challenges in starting a business. But once you've started making reoccurring income and you're starting to flourish and you've overcome some of these challenges and you're trying to figure out your new path, while maintaining that masculine feminine balance, you move from the mother, lots of M's. You move from the mother into the crone or the sage, if we want to do the dudes. And I'm going to pick the sage because I like the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, and that's, they've got the maiden and, I can't remember the dude in there, but he always looks like a gentleman to me. It's a Native American guy with a staff and a wolf. I can't remember the name of the card right now. And then for the crones, it has the crone aspect of the hermit, and it has the sage aspect of the hermit for the masculine and the feminine. So I like the sage. Our sages and crones are confident in who they are. They feel no need to create anymore because they have a crap ton of content already. And this is kind of where I'm at. I know people come over into my community online, Crone's Magic Corner, and as soon as they hop in, they're like, oh my God, there's like over 100 hours worth of content here. I get overwhelmed. And that's okay. That's why it's separated into maiden, mother, crone content. If you're a part of my community, you know that you can go ahead and find content within these areas. It literally, like, it's all over the place. So our crones, they're making multiple figures, or they're on their way to making multiple figures, but they're finding some really advanced challenges. Like, they're so busy, they need automation, or they need to start hiring people to work for them, or they might need a website, or they want to network and collab with other people. So they've gone into this need for a mastermind, or this need to really connect with other people who really understand, more so than the maiden and the mother, because when you start hitting that 10K glass ceiling where you can't quite break that every month, it makes it it puts you in your kind of own little zone. And we don't want our crones, even though it is an aspect of the hermit card, we don't want them to be by themselves. So we want to put them with other crones who understand and will be there to help you and really create some lifelong friendships. So when I talk about throughout this podcast, when I go from maiden to mother to crone, that's who I'm talking about. And if you were listening to this and you're understanding this, awesome. And if you're not, seriously, comment below wherever you find this podcast and let me know that it's confusing, and I'll happily clarify that for you. But I want you to understand that first, is that we all go through 3 different stages of our life, 3 different masteries, and they're each coming with certain challenges. So I'm going to talk first to mainly my maidens, because you're brand new, but this will be beneficial to my mothers and my crones, because then throughout this podcast, when I'm talking about energy work, or I'm talking about what it means to be a psychic or a witch, you're going to understand where I'm coming from on it. And if it resonates with you, fabulous. If you want to give me a different viewpoint and you think I'm batshit crazy and I'm wrong, comment below and tell me, and I'll totally take it into consideration. We'll go over it. Or find me in my community online. Again, that's Crone's Magic Corner, and we will totally go over it. So the thing I want to talk to you guys about first, to really understand me, is what I mean when I'm talking about energy work. So first off, this is coming from a few different viewpoints. A little bit of background on me. I got my degree in theater at Adams State University here in Colorado. And a part of the program that we had to do there was learning every single aspect of the theater. My work study was first in scenic design and being in the scene shop and doing welding and carpentry and painting and building the sets, and then it moved to being in the costume shop where I would sew everything together. And one of the classes that we had to go through, because we did everything, one of the classes that I started noticing a pattern was in my intermediate acting class. Beginning acting was good, but intermediate acting was when it started popping up, because we started talking about characterization. We talked about how the energy in our body, how we can healthily influence moods, and change our emotions without using method acting. If you don't know what method acting is, that's usually what actors like Christian Bale and Heath Ledger use, where they tap into real life traumas that they've dealt with, they channel that into a character, and they use that. This is when you'll see actors go from very anorexic to very beefy very quickly for roles. And it can be really damaging to their psyche and to their body. We don't want to do that, right? It's unhealthy to our body, our spiritual body, and our physical body. So we learned a few techniques for different acting styles. And my favorite was when we paid attention to our breathing, because I realized how easy it was to change your emotions based off of how your breathing pattern was, or if my hands were clenched or not, or if my brow was furrowed or not, the way my hips moved, things like that. So, I started noticing a similarity when I went into my path for witchcraft and for wizardry and psychic development. Was energy was the exact same way of manipulating around you what's happening, as well as what's happening within you with your emotions, like in acting class. So when I'm talking about energy work, I'm talking about how everything in the world is made up of energy. Everything is made of matter. The only reason we have physical solid things, and my elbow is on my desk right now and I'm talking to a physical microphone, is because the molecules are so dense and the atoms are so dense that it's created something that is harder than the air, right? Everything is literally made of energy. And the way that I understand psychic abilities work and readings work, this is why even long distance readings are absolutely possible. I do that for 99% of my career. I've done long distance online readings. Is you're just reaching out energy like a telephone call. I'm putting in a person's phone number, only sometimes it's a phone number, but sometimes it's just tapping into that person's energy or their question. I'm sending my signal across different satellites or the universe, and I am tapping into them. And when they pick up the call, that allows me to give an accurate reading. Then I'm able to talk to them and I'm able to read what's happening to them. Sometimes I can feel what's happening in my body when I am talking to them. So when I'm talking about energy work, I'm talking about literally everything in the world is made of energy. And all we are doing is sensing things in the way that we best have it, like receive information. One of the things that we did in one of the business workshops that we just recently did of finding your business modality was talking about the way that you receive information matters, as well as the way that you give information. Because sometimes that can be two completely different things, and that helps it flow so much more. So for my maidens, I want you to get started with understanding how you receive information first, because that's going to help you so much more now. And my mothers and my crones, if you're struggling to figure out why things aren't correctly working for you, I want you to figure out the way that you receive energy first. And this goes along with your clairs, like clairvoyant, clairaudient, all that kind of stuff. I want you to figure that out first, because that'll be able to give you a good hint on the people that you work with, how they receive information as well. So this entire episode was really just about explaining where I'm coming from. You're going to notice sometimes I will use theatrical terms. I will explain them for you, and I'll make it very understandable. Those of you who are watching the video one, you might notice my hands are flaring everywhere, or I'm being very descriptive, and I'm moving, and I'm an actress, you know? That's because I've done literally all of that, and I'm going to be a little bit animated. So I hope it's enough to entertain you, as well as give you some things to think about for the day. And this was really also about introducing you to the ways that I will talk about things. I'm going to be very visual about this because my main Claire is clairvoyant. I'm going to be very descriptive because even though I'm double Taurus, I also have a Mercury in Gemini, and I'm very detailed with my stuff. I like folders and folders and folders and folders. Some of you might even notice if you watch the live one, I've got a bunch of journals in the background. I'm very big, probably when we talk about getting started with your divination stuff, you're going to hear me talk about writing a lot. Do your stuff. So I hope you really enjoy this series. Let's see how this goes. I'm really looking forward to getting into this, to answering your questions, to really flowing through everything with you, to bringing in some fabulous teachers and other metaphysical biz babes and dudes that I've met and I've worked with that are just, oh, they're fabulous. I love them so much. And I shall be talking to you soon. I hope you have a fantabulous day. Bye.